The man quietly comes to the foster girl next door every night after his wife is asleep. The little girl is only 11 years old. Faced with the abuse of her skin, she is powerless to resist the constant tinkling of bells from the bed curtain. The mother beside her remains indifferent and even feels at her daughter anyway. It was cheaper for someone to marry, so it would be better for someone to marry someone for herself. But she was actually very miserable in her heart. This morning, when her mother was making her daughter's bed, she accidentally saw an unknown liquid on the bed. She immediately became angry and stopped talking. She took out a towel and tried to wipe away the traces, but the harder you try, the clearer the traces become. Mother turns from angry to angry at you. You are such a bad girl. Do you want to beat your old mother to death? The child screamed in pain, but the mother pushed her against the wall like crazy. By the time she was sent to the hospital, her daughter's body was already cold. Not only were there old and new scars from the Lay family, but there were also traces of long-term violations. Policewoman Kat, the sister, was very energetic and rushed to the girl's house to look for evidence. Unexpectedly, as soon as she reached the door, she bumped into the prostitute, who was in a panic. She was holding a damaged host in her hand. The prostitute was directly restrained and Sister Kat entered the room. There were unburned tapes on the floor, unwashed sheets in the washing machine, and the underwear of my dead daughter. Looking at the structure of the two beds, there was only a thin bed curtain between them. Sister Kat's first suspicion was that there was a guilty conscience outside. Sure enough, the prostitute found evidence of Jay's wife's sexual assault in the computer recovered by the police. In the video, she forced her daughter to take off her clothes. Jai's wife was arrested by the police and sentenced to 18 years in prison. But did the mother of the dead girl intentionally push her daughter to the wall and hit her to death? Or did she accidentally cause her daughter's death? What kind of conviction and punishment should the mother receive in this case has become the most difficult issue for the police station. Sister Kat has interrogated Libixia many times. She always looked pitiful and admitted that she accidentally caused her daughter's death. She never admitted that it was intentional, nor did she admit that she knew about her husband's behavior. Sister Mao had no choice but to invite the team's interrogation expert, Sister Wang. Sister Wang had a super aura. After entering the door, picking up the folder and deleting it wildly, His Majesty Lai obviously behaved a lot. You beat your biological daughter to death, right? Yes, ma'am. I beat her to death with the wrong hand. His Majesty deliberately emphasized that the wrong hand was used to exonerate himself. His intention was really obvious, but Sister Wang did not panic at all and directly took out a pistol from the bag. I was wrong. Can I beat you to death with my hands? Libixia had never seen such an arrogant person, and she was at a loss for a moment. She could only beg for mercy. At this time, the assistant cooperated very cooperatively and brought a black plastic bag and a hammer from outside and told her that if she didn't do anything, there would be a solution. Turn off the lights, cover your head, and hit you. No need. Ah, Grandma, please listen clearly. I am beating you now. I will hit you again in a while. Sister Wang's cold and handsome look like a god of death rushed towards her face. But in fact, these were all interrogation techniques. Sister Wang had removed the bullets from the gun before she came in. The black plastic bag and hammer were also props. Libixia was really scared, but there was a voice in her heart. Tell her that she will die if she is recruited, and there will be no evidence if she is not recruited. No, madam, I didn't lie. Libixia did not see the coffin. Without tears, Sister Wang has not seen such a difficult person for a long time. She analyzes the pros and cons. Libixia accidentally beat her daughter to death. In this case, her husband will definitely go to jail. She is a rapist. She is a murderer. It is her own daughter who died. If such a person without anyone to protect you, life inside would be worse than death. You are so young, a bad deputy, and you are going in like this. You must be played to death by those criminals. Don't think that women can't rape women. She has been in there for so long and there are no toys. Who are you playing with? Libixia didn't believe what Sister Wang said. In order to make her feel like she was actually there, Sister Wang forced her to swallow her clothes and stand naked in front of everyone. Libixia didn't feel ashamed. Sister Wang took advantage of the situation and asked people to turn on the air conditioner for more than half an hour. Libixia was still trembling, but she endured no reaction. In fact, it was already a mess inside and was on the verge of collapse. Sister Wang saw her disguise and decided to use the most powerful relic. Sister Wang ordered people to take Libixia to the computer and play it in front of her to repair it. There is a video of her husband forcing her daughter to take a photo. She has an ugly face and even talks about her feelings after doing bad things. No matter how insensitive Libixia is, she can only close her eyes when she sees this, but how can Sister Wang be willing to order her men to open her eyes? forcing her to watch the whole scene. Abixia was about to collapse. Those frightening memories appeared in the corners of her eyes one by one, breathing heavily. Tears have filled her eyes. I think about how my daughter has endured the days and nights in the past 2 years. I can't even remember when my daughter stopped smiling. Maybe my daughter is not cowardly, she's just waiting for her mother lying next to her. Libixia's heart collapsed when she was rescued, but she bit her tongue and refused to admit it. Sister Wang was so angry that she slapped her in the face. On the contrary, as a human being, an old mother gave birth to a daughter and you actually suffered the crime because of her. Do you have any humanity? Why don't you speak? Why don't you speak? I don't even think about it. She cried, but Sister Wang was even more angry. She scolded Libixia for being a prostitute because she was short of money. She was attached to a beast and she killed her own daughter just to be attached to this beast. It's none of her business if you take your ass, but you can't marry your daughter. She's only 11 years old. Libixia was so greedy that she cried loudly. She had already been judged by her conscience and it was only a matter of time before she confessed. Sister Wang no longer forced her to be locked up, and the interrogation continued the next day. Sister Wang was restless all the way back. Her thoughts continued. That poor girl. So when she got home at night, she went to her daughter's room and carefully covered her with a quilt. However, her daughter was so frightened that she trembled all over and broke down crying. In fact, Sister Wang's daughter encountered the same thing as Libixia's daughter. Fortunately, one time, Sister Wang, who came back from work, caught her daughter in the room and screamed desperately. Sister Wang opened the lock and found her half-naked husband. Sister Wang decisively divorced him, collected evidence, put him in jail, and then moved to a new house in order to accompany her daughter to forget the nightmare. Fortunately, everything is past. Now the mother and daughter are very happy because they have the same experience. Sister Wang is very concerned about Libixia. But she didn't know yet that Libixia, who was being held alone at this time, had a complete mental breakdown. She was afraid of pleading guilty and even more afraid of going to jail, which would be easier than death. So she put her wrists on the table and rubbed them until blood smeared from them, but she still refused to stop. The pain in her heart was so severe that she bit her with her teeth. Fortunately, the police on duty discovered in time that the emergency rescue bell was ringing. Libixia was sent to the hospital. Sister Wang also hurriedly tried to find out. As an old mother, it is considered a failure to be as good as you. The purpose of giving birth to a child is not to protect her, but to protect her. Yes, I want to make love to her. I don't know how to drink this kind of garbage, like you. Libixia has figured out many things after her death. She admits that she knows everything her husband has done in the past 2 years. Women are fucked by men right after they are born. It is the same whether they are fucked by their father or by men outside on the street. She desperately wanted her daughter to get her husband's love. So when she repaid her daughter that day, she deliberately pushed her daughter into the corner. She wanted her to suffer some pain, but she didn't intend to hit her to death. She was afraid of going to jail and being accused by the husband she owed. So she's kept it secret until now. She just wanted to atone for her sins. I love Yang Zhan. Sister Wang was a little pitiful. After she left the hospital, she called the police and said that Libixia would take the initiative to surrender. This would be of great help to her sentencing. This was also Sister Wang's biggest compliment to her.